chapter 1, 35. The next day, John again was standing with two of his disciples. And as he watched Jesus walk by, he exclaimed, "Look, here is the Lamb of God." The two disciples heard him say this, and they followed Jesus. When Jesus turned and saw them following, he said to them, "What are you looking for?" They said to him, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you going?" He said to them, "Come and see." They came and saw where he was staying, and they remained with him that day. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Particular emphasis is about the word, it's where he's staying. Other scriptures, where he dwells, or where his home is. Think about what was it like Jesus' personal life as his family. What is like his family? Our own family and my own friend. If you can think about, in particular, your family life, and also friend, maybe best friend or few friends that think of, because that is how we were shaped or raised or have become. Now we can pretty much tell this is most powerful ground that we came from, and also we can identify ourselves with. These are the family and friends. So that tells who we are by that. And I'll just start telling you what my family life was like. I have true culture. Mainly, it is Asian, Oriental, Korean, Confucian culture, and also Western, Christian, Puritan, Jewish, or Christian, Judeo-Christian culture. That is two different culture. And I have spent about half of my life with the Korean culture and half of my life in Western culture. Although I grew up in a church culture, which is Christian culture when I was young and brought up in different culture. So I can see that how that impacted the shape and idea, understanding of family. Korean culture has, as you know, very strong family connection. We are more important than individual. We just community or family is bigger than each individual. And we honor the elders, and the youngers we put the bottom. But Western culture is quite different. As you all know, when I first came, when I was eating after the church service, it was the children who will get food first, and the elderly stand at the end. But it's not just one set fit for everybody. According to us in American culture, there are also different cultures. For example, when I went to black church, they serve pastor first.
Oh yeah.
They want to make sure the elders and pastor, and then children come later. So the family value is very different, and value on other things. In Korean culture, the family and marriage is very serious. or sexual relationship is very limited and exclusive in the family. But in the West, not just all the West, but in some part of the West, Black or Caribbean, found there are the family, but there are many exes, and sometimes it's very confusing. Who is family? It's in some standard, it's just confusing because the children sometimes have relationship with the mother or the family, one woman in the family, in some culture, and that makes it complicate, different. So everybody has a different, unique experience of the culture. If we respect all of the different culture and belief or their experience, and we can say that it's quite relevant, and according to that ground, and we are shaped because through that. So we have very different in American culture, with diverse, which is gift also a problem. Family issue has many sort of very dividing issue to determine what kind of country or community we want to have. But Jesus' life is very, very interesting. Jesus seems to have, just an ordinary Jewish life, but what I find interesting that Jesus never mentioned Joseph or father in his vocabulary. There's none except Father in heaven. In one occasion, Mary said, "Myself and your father was looking for you. Oh, where have you been?" And he said, shouldn't I be in the house of my father's house? So he's not intentionally talking about father, or when he talk about family, he talk about mother and sister and brother. Never mentioned father. There may be many different explanations, but this is something of open question, of course. But I think there is some tension between kingdom of God or his idea of family, spiritual family, versus physical family or blood family. There's some tension. I don't think that Jesus had a particularly hardship in family life, because we know Joseph was a very respectable and honorable person. He, quietly wanted to dismiss Mary, as he find out, and yet accepted, and he lived as a father of Jesus, and he was responsible father and throughout. But if we, there are a lot of talk about Joseph, and if you have Joseph in the Holy Family, and it's like you're very poorly treated. You're not mentioned. Mary on the other side, but it seemed like Joseph was doing the right thing. He was sacrificing his identity, his fatherhood, and he is a carpenter, he provider, he was there, but pretty much he's ignored. And even at the last, on the cross, he said to disciple John, "This is your mother. Where's father?" He didn't mention about Joseph is an interesting figure, but not because he had hard relationship with it personally with Father, but it's that somehow there's a tension that spiritual reason that he wanted to leave home to be with his mission. And it shows in many places that, Jesus was very particular about who's my brothers and sisters. Somebody, your family member at the door, he could just at least acknowledge them. Oh, they're my friend or they're my horse or whatever that we normally do. But he don't even want to recognize them in the presence of their group and say, who does the will of God is my brother. It's basically, I'm with family and friends. And the way that he forms his spiritual family, a friend, is almost as equal to dismiss or hate his, blood family. But I'm careful not to use word hate as language. His family is more like a home where there is, we name that as a house of love, not instead of house of fear. It's kind of radically different house now, home there. And he himself said, I'm going to the place room that will prepare that, and that's my, that's the place that I'm going to invite you to over. So it is we are in that body and family and union with that exceed or surpass the boundary of blood family. And this is a very tough one for Jewish people. And Jewish people were kind of blood bond, even though they're covenant bound, and they are open for even everybody. It can be a Jew. I didn't know, but even we can be a Jew if we follow the rule. Well, because of the power, probably he was most hated, rejected by the Jewish tradition and authority, especially. John chapter 15, verse 14 and 15 is very personal invitation to be his friend or family. John 15, verse 14 and 15. Somebody read for us if you found it.
It's John 15, I'm sorry. Is it 15?
15, chapter 15.
And what were the verses?
14 and 15.
You are my friends if you do what I command you. No longer do I call you slaves, for the slave does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard from my Father, I have made known to you.
And if you read one more verse, you did not choose me, but I choose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask him in my name. I am giving you these commands so that you may love one another. And this is an open family, open and expanding, not exclusive and closed up family. And this probably is something worthy of our attention, that when we talk about family and friend, it is all normally very exclusive boundary and family, because we have to make the wall of a house, and we have to make sure that we are secure from the other day, you know, I was at my home and somebody just walked into my house, and just face to face, we just saw each other. And then the person just turned around and pretended just nothing happened. So after that, I realized I need to secure the door, especially when my wife is alone. So we have to, we have to make sure that we have a boundary. In particular, in gospel, we see the tension between this closed up nationalism of the Zionist Judaism that they have, but Jesus was not a Messiah in a sense for the Zionist or for the blood family of Israel. But we know that he's into Samaritan woman, Phoenician woman, and centurion of Roman soldier, that he is basically is Messiah for all of the world, not the Jewish people. But Jews are chosen to be the servant of the others, like we know as we call to be priest. To be a priest means that you have to sacrifice yourself to serve others. But that's who we are, right? We're chosen to be a servant for others, and there's always tension within us. In that, we wanted to serve our own family or our own interest, as well as we serve the larger community and follow the call of God to go beyond our comfortable place. I see in today's world and our culture that Christian community, Christian theology has become more like a political agenda. and they left use it, right use it as if they're, God is their own side, which is impossible for God to take that one side over the other. Some of them has right ground for each other, but exclusively that they are fighting each other in the name of God. That's not what I found is spirit of that family of Jesus Christ. That is even within our church. That's what we have personal opinions, and we have a diverse faith in the church, and it's important that we acknowledge that is there. But using God or blessing just for their own advantage and using that as a weapon against others is something that we shouldn't do.
It separates brethren. Separation of brethren.
That exactly, that hurt the unity, that hurt the church. Just like Satan is like what is called dividing the house. Satan is a factor divide the house. If we use Jesus as a dividing factor, then we become like making Jesus anyway, so I would like to just see that as a private, personal invitation for Jesus that gave us to be in the house of love and to be in the house for others and to be in the house with Jesus. That includes that life in here and also life to come. That we have hope that is eternal with Jesus. And, this is, invitation to the bigger family, and I hope this, we don't see that as an thesis against our own blooded family. Jesus had his own blooded family, but if we stay in that family, and using Jesus or gospel to support idea of my family or my culture or my group of people agenda is against Jesus' spirit. That's what I wanted to just say. I have known, one particular family very close to my family, to me, and they are just extraordinary in terms of they love their family. Everybody really sacrifice for one another. It's really seeing that tradition, family tradition from the, it's Korean culture too, from the, line of the blood that you protect your family and hooray support, and they put real love into just each and every member, especially the baby when they're born, and they just put shower upon blessing upon blessing and unconditional love. And when they become older, and they're supposed to also do the same thing, but it is always in conflict with the outsider.
Yes.
Even in church family and other family, and especially when it comes to in-law situation. In Korea, the man is the legitimate line of family. The woman is not. So once women come in and accept this fellowship of man authority, you are one. As long as you're under that family tradition, you're one. But as soon as you're revolt against it or reject the authority of man, then you are condemned viciously.
I went to seminary with, I became very friendly with two Korean men who had just come from Korea to go to seminary. So they had very little experience in America.
Yeah.
But I understand Koreans are taught English and know about America, so they were bright men. But we would talk a lot. We were together for 4 years, and we would talk a lot about Korean culture and American culture. And these two men were telling me about bringing a wife into the household and what that's like. And then they said how difficult it is to find a wife. Well, I was laughing, and they said, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "Who wants, as a Westerner, who wants to do that? About the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, you're under their thumb. It sounds terrible, but that's just a small piece of the culture. I understand, but it was so funny. They said, "Can't find a wife."
Right.
No kidding.
Yeah. Especially for the elder son.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about women ministers? Women in ministry,
It's very difficult. Yeah.
difficult
Yeah.
for men.
Not accepted.
In the black church that I've been to, still women preachers are not welcomed.
Mhm.
They don't say it, only say it behind the curtain, but cabinet knows that they're not happy when they get a woman pastor.
The AME Zion Church in Greenport has a woman minister now, and she's
Oh.
doing very well.
Mm.
But I remember when they didn't want a woman in the pulpit
Right.
at that church.
Mhm.
I remember that. Well, you bring up an interesting issue about how permeable the boundaries are between family and outsiders.
Yeah. And it's not, even for the Jew, it's not fixed on the stone.
Oh no.
It's changing. Even Korea now, if modern days marriage, men never, young couples, man does cooking and all the same thing that we do here. And their parents, they cannot dare to say their daughter-in-law to do something or other.
Mhm.
Because now, even though in Korean culture, the family concept of family has changed dramatically, and no longer that works. If you keep insisting in that mold of your mind, then you're in big trouble. And so it's changing, shifting, and there's always that we're defined by this culture that we're bound and we're raised up and we love and care for, and yet I'm happy that that's not all that I have. And I have a better, higher, bigger world that I can relate myself to. That I hate Korean culture. I love Korean culture, and I love Western culture, and especially Puritan culture. We love black culture too. They're just respectable very much. All law and anyway. So just we're blessed to have, and if I may, just we'll in the same page. If we that I'm keep coming back to our personal journey with Jesus, and in my ministry, I always have it talking about and always with Jesus in my life and study Jesus and read Jesus. But recently, really, I'm being intentional of Jesus being my friend, personal friend, as if it's your imaginary friend that you have, like a shadow. And it was difficult when in my culture, Jesus was pretty much authority figure, like a father. He's the law. He's the command. He's the one who control. So I don't want it to be near God. I want to be privately. Or if I have to be with God, like a Sunday morning, I want it to be go fast, and then come home fast. But that was kind of my. But now I'm seeing God as friend. Literally, He loves me, and He wants me to know Him. He wants to know Him.